Hi there.
Oh, hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I'm making a documentary film, and one of the characters, he uses a lot of different samples in his music.
Okay.
Do we have to clear that for a film as well? Once upon a time, all ideas were in the public domain. Every invention and every piece of art could be built upon by the generation that followed. And one inventor built on the public domain to create the printing press, the machine that created the modern world, and with it, a beautiful dilemma. Now ideas could be spread around the globe, but how could an individual now profit from his or her creative efforts? The solution was the first copyright law. The Statute of Anne gave authors exclusive rights to their work, but the law was meant to be a balance between the rights of authors and those of the public. So after 14 years, the work fell into the public domain and anyone could copy it. But over the years, people kept inventing newer and better copying machines, each disrupting the business model that had come before. From the player piano to the radio to the VCR, each technology originally copied ideas without paying the copyright holder. The solution was always a balance. Lawmakers ensured the right of the new technology to innovate while maintaining the right of authors to still get paid. I started a website called Open Source Cinema, and I put all my footage online to see what people will do with it. So far, this film has been mixed and remixed to the point where 64 university students even got together to make an animated version. So now I've got a posse, and we're creating this movie together.
These are communities. They're being created by the opportunity this technology makes available. And these communities engage in a kind of conversation, each one taking what the other had done and adding to it, mixing it and changing it, and engaging in a creative act.
I get it. Later in the evening, child, I feel that. I made that blue up in 38.
Tell me a little of the story of it, if you don't mind.
Well, I just felt blue. The song veiled into my mind and come to me just like this song. I started singing.
Do you know, is that the tune for any other blues that you know?
Well, this song come from the cotton field, and the boy went to put the record out around the joint.
Did you know the tune before you heard it on the record, though?
I knew the tune already.
Who did you learn?
I learned from somehow.
So right now I'm going to introduce the loop from the Led Zeppelin song, Whole Lotta Love, and I'm going to have kind of an A-B comparison between that riff and the riff from Muddy Waters, You Need Love.
Way down inside,
baby, way down inside. Woman, you need love. I know you need love. You just gotta have some love.
this may be my last time. This may be my last time, children.
It's a bittersweet
song veered into my mind and come to me just like that song, and I started singing and went on. I knew the tune before I heard it on the record.
Who'd you like?
Everyone's just going to keep getting more and more extreme with protecting their own ideas. And, you know, I think eventually everyone's going to realize that it's beneficial to share ideas. You know, people have a hard time taking a step back and thinking, wow, sampling is an instrument. Potentially in the future, we're going to look back and just be like, wow, I can't believe people were having these moral struggles with someone collaging two songs together.
Well, what is the moral dilemma? Who would have a problem with Girl Talk's music?
I've been at the Copyright Office for more than 40 years. You need to know, I don't have a computer at home. I've never done a mashup. I've actually never downloaded, you know, a song that was hanging out there.
Can I show you a mashup?
Sure.
So I'll just grab any one of those, paste that into a new window. Elvis Costello radio. So if I just highlight the first kind of percussion hit, so if I put 0.25 seconds of it there, and then paste 0.125 seconds of it, which is half of that, and paste to 0.25 seconds again. So this is 1 second now, and this should be on a rhythm. Put in 0.125 seconds of silence, put it twice, so it's 0.25 seconds of silence, and paste to 0.25 seconds again.
Oh my God.
Paste to 0.125 seconds.
This is a lot of copyright infringement.
So
Well,
this is 1 second
no, I'm
now.
just amazed
This
at what
should
he's
be on a
doing.
rhythm. So I'm just taking his notes and rearranging them. I'll put in the minimal version. Then you can put a beat underneath that. Then I'll put in the extended version. And they're kind of layering over each other so you can hear the ones that fit with each other. And I could slow either one of these down, so if I wanted to go, or speed them up, so if I wanted to go this, twice the speed and increase the pitch.
So none of it is his. He's just rearranging other stuff.
So that pretty much sounds nothing like that original song, and I would say that's roughly the equivalent of, you know, taking a familiar Beatles melody on your guitar and rearranging the notes and putting a new guitar pedal sound on it and calling it your own song.
It's taking something that was and turning it into something that it wasn't. There's a gazillion copyright questions that would be a great exam question for a copyright law class. The answer will always be, it depends, and in part it depends on whose it is and how upset they are.
So let's do the math. This Girl Talk song crams 21 songs into 3 minutes. Each title is owned by an average of 4 corporations who want at least $2,500 per sample. That makes $210,000 just for the publishers. The recordings are owned by labels, another $52,000. So far, that's $262,500. To clear his album, you'd be looking at well over $4 million. And the best part is that if any of these 85 corporations don't like mashups, they can just pull the plug.
The decision to put on next album or not changes completely for me. I'm still up in the air on whether I openly want to put out an album or whether I want to try to give it away for free or how we're even going to do it. I never thought about that before, you know, but now I'm not as quick to just put out an album because there's such focus on it. And I'm just trying to make the music I like to make, and if I'm not trying to get sued, I don't want to lose on. I'm about to quit my job, so I think it would be the perfect downward spiral for me to quit my job and put out an album and get sued out of existence. So, I don't want that to happen. I just kind of want to keep, right now it's great, put out an album, people like it, get to tour. I just wish I could continue that without having to worry about laws.
Girl Talk has more to worry about than just music and the law. Because in his day job, ideas are definitely not free. They are patents, corporate secrets guarded like gold.
My technical title is biomedical engineer. I test devices and analyze data. In science and in my music, it's really trial and error for me. We just dabble in so many things, and that's the same way. I mean, with samples, I just sample things all day long, and then I see what works. And doing science, whenever you're looking up new ideas, you just read journals, take notes. That's just collecting the data. To look into a million different things to make something new. And then there's the actual processing of the data where you're saying, all right, now I have to get results. The first thing you do is research it and see if there's patents for it. And a lot of time, very broad ideas are patented. It is an experimental division, so we keep a notebook, and they want us to propose 3 ideas per year. And I think if it were a bit more open to the point where the whole point of medicine and science were, let's just do the best we can. Let's just build on all the ideas and see what we can make happen. I think the progress of medicine would move, incredibly fast. All the time, you come up with something and you do the research and it's been patented, and maybe your idea is slightly different, but they might hold a patent on a core, part of your idea. So, a lot of times it's just, that's out of the question. It holds back knowledge exchange very clearly. So many things just aren't developed because people are holding a patent onto it. The cure for cancer could be a step away, but it's off limits. They might sit on that idea forever and do nothing with it.
When I say culture is threatened, I don't just mean music and movies. I really do mean everything. The concept of intellectual property is addictive. Once you realize that ideas can be more profitable than oil or gold or even land, then there's no limit to what can be thought of as property. In the 1990s, the United States hatched a plan to trade the economy of things for the economy of ideas. And the man who would protect these ideas was Bruce Lehman.
In the Clinton administration, my job was to being in charge of the intellectual property policy of the United States, both domestically and in terms of our diplomacy. In a modern economy, I think wealth is in the products of the mind. It's really in intellectual creations. In much of the world, we live in a sea of piracy. And, you can have sympathy for developing countries, but we made a deal. If you go to a shopping mall in this country, you cannot buy anything made in the United States anymore. It all comes from China or some other place like that. Well, the reason for that is that we completely opened up our markets. It was a conscious decision to basically abandon low-wage manufacturing jobs, and the idea is that we would compensate for that with higher wage, high-tech information, more intangible-based jobs.
The idea was that they would convince the world's economies to adopt laws that prohibited the copying of American ideas without American permission. And in exchange, it would require all the countries that wanted to manufacture stuff and export them here to adopt American copyright laws. And if they didn't, they wouldn't be allowed to sell their goods, their physical goods here in America. And the World Trade Organization would be the teeth.
And the difficulty in the global trading system is that we met our part of the bargain, but these other countries didn't meet theirs.
ミッキーマウスにドナルド・ダック？それにミニーちゃんも？一見おなじみのディズニーのキャラクターたち。
This knockoff of the happiest place on earth highlights a problem with the American plan. For better or for worse, the information age is all about copying ideas.
シンデレラ城のようなお城にあの人気アトラクションそっくりの乗り物まで。
米老鼠什么的有吗？没有是吗？
我们是大耳猫，我们是猫，你注意一下。
I have to say that we're now more than a decade, I guess we're 12 years into our policies on digital copyrights. I feel that it also has not achieved the results that we wanted.
ディズニーに行くのは遠いので、設計山遊園地に行こうと書かれています。
And so I'm thinking, you know, well, maybe we should have forgotten intellectual property rights internationally and gone for labor standards in the environment.
Well, that would have been a good idea. But instead of pushing for fair trade policies, the US is trying to build an economy that can't be built. Since enacting these policies, the US trade deficit has nearly tripled. To top it off, the whole world is now stuck making criminals out of its citizens to enforce laws that can't be enforced.
Are we supposed to say certain things are off limits to making art? Is art off limits? Is other people's art off limits, you know, to making art? That doesn't make any sense. That's just silly. That's just some business guy's way of thinking.
This world in which we pretend that we're not all copyright criminals is like the Victorians, who pretended that they didn't all masturbate. Right? The official line was, if you masturbate, you get hair on your palms, you go blind, you go nuts. Right? The official line today is that only bad people copy files without authorization. In both cases, it's not true. And I think that what's happening with copyright is the same thing that happened with masturbation, that people are starting to admit to each other, yeah, I do it too.
I want to make a mashup film, basically. I want to take all my favorite mashups, my favorite movies on these subjects, stuff I find on the internet, and I want to cut this together in a way that really tells the story of the last 10 years of copyright. I'm wondering if maybe you can take a look at it.
Let's create a singular, globalized, self-regulating, religionless, and unified society of human beings.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's totally illegal.
Will they take my house?
Do you have a house?
No.
Well, then don't worry.
Okay, I think that this is the kind of advice I was looking for. But isn't there some fair use in here?
Yeah.
Or is it all fair use?
Well, in my view of what fair use ought to be, everything that you've shown me should be fair use. I think that the way you should think about it is, imagine you were writing an essay, and in the course of the essay you would quote stuff from your culture, right? You'd quote passages from, you know, some popular writer, or you'd have passages from Shakespeare, whatever. You just include it, and you'd use it to try to make your story, right? And what you do is you'd quote and you'd cite. That's what you do. You should have the same freedom with film as that writer has with that text. Nobody would doubt that the writer could do that with the text, but it's a federal case whether you're allowed to do that with film.
A completely private, incorporated domain. A world where in order to create, you need to beg permission from those who are powerful enough to lock up the ideas from the last century. Is this where we're headed? The rules of this game are actually up to you. This is not a world made up of passive consumers anymore. That era is over. This world is made up of collaborators. We can create and share. We can change laws. We can act.
Today we're going to create a mashup, a fun and adventurous way to make something fresh out of something stale.
And we heard girls talk on the aesthetic and legal margins of music.